All right. What is going on, everybody? It's the Upper Bay Podcast back for another episode. Per usual, if you are new here, we appreciate you checking us out. It means a lot to us. If you're not new here, thanks again for coming back. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Rich is back in the house, finally, back in the kill room.
Yes.
What is going on, man?
Oh, man, it's good to be back in the room. I need that energy.
Mm-hmm.
Need to be looking at big deer on the wall while we're recording shows. Yeah, it's been a minute since we've been in here. Studio looks great, dude.
Yeah, it's coming
Studio
together.
Looks phenomenal.
It's piecing, man. It's piecing.
Yeah, it's trending in the right direction.
It
sure.
feels good.
Yeah.
You were fishing today, though.
Yeah, I've been fishing. Been fortunate enough to be fishing a bunch. Pretty much every evening I've been able to get out for 2-3 hours, whatever. Just fit it in where I can, and sometimes a little more. But it's been good. I mean, the bay has been baying right now between the big rockfish, the big striper, and the bass. It's been solid. It's kind of that early spring. Things are starting to get going. It's not like wide open yet, but you can definitely catch some.
I mean, spring is creeping in, dude. It's coming quick. These last couple days where it's been like 45, 50 degrees, I'm like, oh boy.
Dude, and you can bookmark it. So I leave for the Classic on Tuesday to head to Knoxville. It's gonna be 80 on Tuesday. You can bookmark it, dude. Every year in March, when I got to leave for the Classic, it's the front side of a warming trend as I'm leaving. And like by the first day of the Classic, while I'm on the expo floor working, I'm getting pictures from the homies just gripping and grinning, dude. And I'm
Connor just rubbing it in, dude.
Yeah, he's the one. Yeah, he's the one, of course. Yeah, Connor, he's the one that's always sending me just megas, spinnerbait hanging in their face. And I'm like, every year,
no doubt, man. No doubt.
It's all good. It's all good stuff.
Your pictures on Instagram are catching some attention because I can't tell you how many texts I've gotten of where those stripers at. Like, I don't know, man.
Dude, yeah, that's been a crazy thing. So like, so I threw it a random blob last Friday, just in the middle of nowhere. And it was a 40-pound rockfish.
Jesus.
And I kind of opened my eyes to it. And I started running through history of like where they should be, where they have been in the past. And sure enough, I mean, it's all voodoo box.
Were you side scanning when you found the blob?
No, I was on the scope. Okay. I was actually catfishing.
Okay. Wow.
I was throwing blade baits at catfish on the bottom just to reel something in.
All right.
And I saw a giant blob through the old jerk plug over there. Twitch. It's crazy to see a fish that's 5 feet long turn around on your screen and eat a bait.
Oh, yeah. I can't. I mean, I've never voodoo boxed, but I can't imagine. I cannot imagine.
But no, it's been fun. How about you, man? You been picking up some sheds?
We got a couple on the table there. Mason and I walked locally, and we picked up a handful. And since then, I've only been one time. I didn't find any, but I just got permission today to another piece not far from here where I'm really hoping that those match those two big ones on the table there laying over there. Just because late season, I saw those bucks over there in that area, which is why I asked for permission in the first place before they drop. So
yeah,
I'm hoping, man. Fingers crossed. But Mason's creeping in on the century belt.
I know. What's he at? 99?
99
sheds for the year.
That's insane, dude. That's insane.
He probably doesn't want us to say that number,
does not.
But I don't care. I'm going to flex on him because he's not here and he can't tell us not to say it. Kid's going to pick up 100 sheds this year.
100 plus, hopefully.
So when you see the pictures in the woods in the fall of you just know he's putting his time in. It's not random.
No,
it's not random. Whether it's
I can't wait till he's done and he kind of finally spills the beans on one, the total amount, and then two, I always love hearing the total miles walked. It's insane.
Oh, it's insane
how much he puts in.
It's insane. Yeah. It really is. But
other than that, I'm itching to get fishing, man. Yeah. I mean, I got the boat. You probably saw the boat was uncovered. Got it tuned up. It's ready to go.
It's happening. It's ready to go.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Well, we got a fun, great guest today.
Yep.
Shane, we got Jake Latendresse joining us today, and Jake is I've just realized the camera's been looking at the back of my head the whole time, but we've got Jake Latendresse with us today. That when I describe this guy, I just describe him as like an all-around badass.
Yeah.
Honestly, from like the credentials and like the checklist that he's done in his life is pretty freaking awesome. Yeah. And at this point, probably most commonly known as, a Bassmaster cameraman. He co-hosts a podcast oftentimes with Dave Mercer. It's called Jake's Take, where he lays out his opinion of what happened in the Bassmaster tournaments. But Jake Latendresse, outdoorsman, Bassmaster cameraman. He's been on the boat with some seriously talented anglers, and I appreciate him joining us today. So
let's bring him in.
Yeah, let's bring him on here. Hopefully it works. What's up, Jake?
We got you.
What is up?
How was that intro, man?
Dude, I don't even know what to say now. All I know is I feel naked without my headset.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, man. Seriously.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me. I can't talk to you all. This is gonna be fun.
So what's been up, man? What's been going on in the world of Jake in between Elite Series events before the Classic?
Really just being a dad. I have three very busy kids. They're all involved in athletics. I just got back from my daughter's gymnastics meet about 30 minutes ago, and really it's just chasing little kids around, man.
Dude, I get that. I got 2 of them, man. I know exactly what that's like.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah. It's like half the time you're chasing around, the best fisherman in the world, and the other time when you're home, you're chasing around kids.
Yeah, they're both fun. Actually, they're all a bunch of kids when you really peel the onion down to the core.
Yeah. That's a fair way to put it.
Yeah. No doubt. So we had Lee on the show with us last week, so it's like a perfect tie-in to have you here with us this week, because you guys obviously have had a ton of time in the boat together, and you've seen some amazing stuff happen over the course of your years, Jake.
Well, it's all I do is sit on the back of the boat or stand on the back of the boat and hit record, and those guys do the rest. And I often pinch myself when big things happen, and it's everything that happens is an experience for me. They're the ones that are playing for money, and I just get to sit back and learn. And I love to fish, so every time I go out, win or lose, I learn something new from all those guys.
Yeah.
Well, before we get too deep into that, did you do any hunting this year?
Very little, man. I did a little bow hunting. My area out in western Nebraska got hit hard by EHD.
Oh, okay.
So that was a big pill to swallow. Normally, I see your big buck there behind you, and normally when I go out to this one particular area, I've been bow hunting there for over 30 years, and I almost always see at least 1 or 2 shooters. Let's say 5-year-old bucks or older. And this entire season, I think I hunted 19 days. In this entire season, I think I saw 11 bucks total. Not one of them was mature. They're all 1 or 2 years old. And where I would see 40 or 50 does every day come out in the fields in the afternoons, I think I saw 10 or 12 does total the entire season. So that doesn't tell you how decimated our herd got hit, then I don't know how to explain it. It's just one of those. It'll come back, but it's going to take 3 to 5 years for that to happen.
Have you seen that happen in the past, Jake? Have you experienced it before?
No, I've worked with Jay Gregory and Ted Nugent and James Kroll on the chronic wasting disease phenomenon. There's a lot of people that don't buy into it. I'm starting not to. I believe that most of these, kill-offs are occurring because of EHD, blue tongue. Yep. And so I've heard a lot about it, particularly talking with those guys deep in the biology and the science behind it, and the, you know, the debunking of all the myths behind CWD. And I've often, wondered, like, man, it's just never seemed real to me until this year. And for once in really my life, and 50, really 45 years of bow hunting, this is the first time I've ever experienced it. And it's probably, ironically, the worst case I've ever seen, but it'll come back.
Yeah, I heard the whole Midwest got hammered this year. Now all over the place, but it is a tough pill to swallow. I mean, we hunt here on the Eastern Shore, and a few years back, I had a killer farm that got hammered too, and it is a hard pill to swallow, man. Like you don't ever want to admit yourself that that's actually what happened, but then like when you get to looking for sheds and you start picking up deadhead after deadhead, it's a reality, man.
I don't feel bad for me as a hunter, because we've killed enough deer and all that. I feel bad for the resource, and the amount of time it takes to come back, and really just the landscape, because it changes everything. The same trees are still there, the same hills are still there, the same river bottom's still there. It all looks the same, but there's no tracks, there's no deer. When you rattle or call, they don't come. Even at prime time, there's no rut. So, at the end of the day, I just go home feeling, I mean, I get to sit in the tree stand and watch the sunrise just like I always have. And at my age and phase and excuse me, phase in my hunting career, I don't really look at it like I got to go kill something every
Right.
time I go out. But, I do, again, like I said, I just feel bad for the resource and the deer herd and all that. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's kind of I've heard a couple guys, just like the way they put it is it's God's way of keeping it in check, and there's merit to it for sure,
I'm going to stay with it, though. I'm going to go hunt the same spot this year. My son's he shoots a longbow. I got him a longbow for Christmas last year, and he shoots that quite a bit. So, my goal this year in the tree stand is to get my son up there, and we'll if we shoot a doe, whatever it is, if we don't shoot anything, it's time for him to start learning how to be a woodsman and how to do all this stuff. So, and he's looking forward to it, which means I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's kind of cool that you're a trad guy. Not too many of them around anymore.
I'm getting old, but I do like livestock.
Come on. I ain't buying that, Jake. I'm not buying that for a second.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm probably older than you think I am. In a month and 2 weeks, I turned 57.
I don't care about your age, Jake. I'm saying I know you as a man. You ain't getting old.
Well, I think, okay, then my mentality is maturing finally.
Okay, all right. I think it's more like you're just trying to check more boxes off of all the cool stuff you've done.
Hey, man, the coolest thing I've ever done in my life is occurring right now, right in front of me, and that's raising my kids.
Nice.
They're so important to me, and it's every decision that I make, work related, fun related, whatever it is, it's all based around how that affects my children and how it directly affects my children. So it's just, I love being a dad, and it's the greatest thing ever, man.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing, because from afar, obviously, Jake, it appears that you're doing a great job at it. So keep it up. From, I don't know all your kids' names, but I know you have, your oldest daughter to Walker to your younger daughter. It seems like you got them moving, active, rocking, rolling, and that's the best thing you can do as a parent is keep them kids active and happy. But talk a little bit to us, Jake, about the forming of Jake Latendresse into who he is now. Like, who was it that made you into that woodsman? Who was it that made you, talk about that kind of, like, what was it, a family thing, or was it just something you took interest to early on?
Yeah. So my dad was a huge outdoorsman. He was a commercial fisherman at Nickajack Lake back in the 1950s. He lived in Jasper, Tennessee. I grew up on Kentucky Lake my entire life. My dad was a hunter, a fisherman. He grew up when he was a kid. He grew up in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. As a kid before the war, he actually went to World War II as a Marine. And he taught me the way of the woods. He taught me to, if I'm going to shoot something or kill something, I need to eat it. If I'm not going to eat it, put it back. Leave nothing but my foot tracks in the woods. He taught me the right way. He was old school. And so really, he was my hero growing up. Everything that I know about the outdoors came from my dad up until I got into the professional world of producing videos and hanging out with people that knew a whole lot more about it than he did technically. But the foundation came from him. He was a crappie fisherman, a bass fisherman. When I grew up on Kentucky Lake back in the 70s and 80s, that was when it was in its heyday. And that was really the lake on the Tennessee River system. So, it's in my blood, it's in my DNA. And, I'm really glad. I'm really glad that I grew up in a small town on Kentucky Lake. I don't live there anymore. I live in Fort Collins, Colorado, but that's where it all started.
What was the town you grew up in Kentucky Lake?
Camden, Tennessee, 20 miles. I grew up exactly 19 miles south of Paris Landing.
Yeah. Well, so Jake, you and I spent some time together a few years back driving across the state of Texas in a Mercedes-Benz, which was
Beamer. It was a Beamer, right?
Oh no, it was a Beamer. Yeah, I told Shane it was a Mercedes, but you're right, it was a Beamer. And when we pulled up to that marina in uncertain Louisiana or uncertain Texas, whichever one it was, boy, they looked at us freaking sideways when we got out of that car. They had no idea what hit them. But dude, during that trip, you told me something, and if it's something that's near and dear and personal to you and you don't want to dive into it, I get it. You told me at that time that your house got shot at one time when you were a kid growing up. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can talk a lot about that if you want to.
I mean, so
I don't tell this story a lot, not because it's hard to talk about or anything. It's actually really exciting, and probably I probably cut one of my teeth on that because it was a pivotal point and a life-changing experience for me as a little boy. As I recall, I was 7 or 8 years, no older or no younger than 7 or 8 years old. And excuse me, I have to clear my throat. So my dad he was involved in all kinds of stuff. And mostly he was, he grew up in Las Vegas, or actually he went to Las Vegas and worked as a dealer at the very first casino ever built in Las Vegas, the Flamingo. He worked for Bugsy Siegel. So he came from that mold. He's seen people die. He's seen, he knew what the mafia was all about back in the 1940s. He grew up in a rough, growing up through the Depression, all that stuff. And so he was involved with, different kinds of people. He was a pearl farmer. When my dad died, he was arguably the most knowledgeable man in the world about pearls. He was known as the Pearl King of the world. And so he had Jewish friends in the gem and mineral world, Iranian friends, all kind. I'm telling you, I don't even know how to explain it. He was just involved with a lot of different kinds of people. So there was a guy in our town who had witnessed a murder from my dad's background, and my dad was involved with the local sheriff's department, and he told the sheriff that he knew who killed this person because he has a good friend that was a witness to it. So instead, I don't know why he decided to do this, but he took this guy's name was Donnie Moody. He took this guy under his wing, and he hid the guy in our house. and and so he stayed with us for a while. We used to go fishing with him. I mean, again, I was a little kid. I had a 2 or 3 year old little sister, and I had a sister that was 2 years older than me. Still do, but at that time, that's how small we were. We were very family oriented and all that. Well, Donnie had gotten close to going to trial to testify against these murderers
Yeah.
in this case, and so they had taken him into custody, but the people and the people around the people that had murdered this guy had found out about it. So we're sitting in our living room one night, me, my two sisters, my mom, and my dad, and we're actually watching an old TV show series called Fantasy Island. And I don't remember what night it was. I just know it was dark. And we had these three big bay windows behind us in the living room. We're facing the other wall watching the television. And all of a sudden, just things just started exploding. Boom, 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 boom. And glass was flying everywhere. My dad, he had guns all over the house. And when people tell me,
Hell yeah.
we argue over the Second Amendment with some of my friends, they're like, you don't need this or that. And I'm like, dude, you don't know my background. And my dad had M1 carbines from, World War II, Colt handguns, sawed off shotguns. Dude, they were loaded. He had bullets in the pipe ready to roll. And no one ever got shot in my house. No one ever hurt anyone or anything. So, with all that being said, my dad's screaming, get down, get down. So he flips this wooden coffee table over, and my mom, my two sisters get behind it. He runs over to the back screen door, flips all the lights out in the house that he could reach from where he was, and grabs an M130 carbine with a banana clip in it and slings the back door open. And so, being a little boy that I am and curious, I crawl over to where my dad was, and I'm literally at his feet. I remember burning my shoulder on what do you call it? A baseboard heater, which is what we had in our living room at the time. And I remember it being really hot. And so I pulled away from it, and I snuck my head around to look out the door, and I could see muzzle blasts coming through from the woods. And my dad would sling the door open, and then he would enter the doorway and fire off as many rounds as he could, and then get back behind the wall, put a new clip in. And then the next thing I remember was blue lights and red lights flashing all around the house because the law enforcement had pulled up in our driveway, and all the flashing colored lights were coming through the windows. It was like, some scene in some cop TV show.
Yeah.
And they had a white van. I just remember a white van pulling up in the driveway, and my dad, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation was there, the sheriff, the local city cops, the county police, all that stuff. That surrounded our house. They'd gotten up on the roof. So they told me, my two sisters, and my mom to get in this van. So we get in this van, and there's already a bed made in the back of this van for us. So we get in it, shut the door, we go out the driveway, and we drive and we drive and we drive and we drive. Next thing I know, a day and a half later, we're in Michigan in some motel in some little town. I don't even remember where it was. I just remember it was in Michigan, and I remember seeing the very first badger I'd ever seen in my life up there in the hotel parking lot. So that was my recollection of the entire mission. Yeah, it was stressful, but for me and being a little boy, it was actually kind of exciting.
I bet it was.
That's one way to describe it for sure. I mean,
when Rich was telling me about it, he was like, "Yeah, it was like a drive-by shooting. That's a full-blown standoff, dog."
It was a gunfight. It was a full-blown gunfight with my dad and three dudes in the woods. They actually caught the guys.
Good.
Yeah,
Good. I hope they got
still in
more than
jail.
car.
Right.
I hope they don't watch your podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be coming for you next, man. Good
Right.
Lord.
We gotta up the artillery in this room, Shane. All I see is a longbow. We need more power.
Did I say I live in Colorado? I meant California.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah,
Rich wasn't kidding when you were just checking off all the boxes, dude.
I think that really set it set me in stone. And I
Yeah.
mean, when I vote, with my front foot firmly down on the Second Amendment. And it's because of that experience, because that lasted for years. I mean, they shot my dad's office up. It wasn't just our house. They went down and shot his office up, shot our cars up. It was a mess. And I just remember, being like, oh man, I'm no wonder why dad keeps loaded guns around the house,
Right.
and I've always felt that way. And hell, I probably live in the safest city in America right now in Fort Collins, Colorado. There's hardly ever any crime here. And, I don't have them laying around my house like he did, but I've got guns.
Yeah. No doubt. Shout out to Fort Collins, Colorado, by the way, home of the town pump.
That's right.
Yeah. That's another check box. Jake you own that bar, right?
I own the oldest bar in the city of Fort Collins. It's 117 years old, and it's the 14th oldest bar restaurant in the state of Colorado. All the other ones that are older than it opened up during the mid to late 1800s during the mining days in Colorado, the gold mining days.
Gotcha. Wow. Yeah.
So is that kind of what you fill your time with when you're not traveling with bass?
Yeah, that's honestly my financial backbone. That's what allows me to do all the other things that I love to do in life.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm not a camera guy because we make a lot of money.
Well, speaking of being a camera guy, what was first for you in the professional world of, running camera and doing the amazing work you do? Was it hunting first or was it fishing first?
Neither. It was my very first introduction into publishing content, visual content, was I used to rock and ice climb. And one of my mentors, actually my mentor, his name is Mark Wilford. He's one of the Hall of Fame level greatest American alpinist ice climbers in the world. And he happened to live here in Fort Collins. We got to be friends at the town pump. I just started rock climbing hard, and so we were rock climbing some, and he introduced me to ice climbing. So we started climbing together, and we were up a canyon here in Colorado, and he was climbing. He was an ambassador for Patagonia, the apparel company at the time. And so he gave me his camera. He had an analog, a Nikon. I think it was an F4 Nikon SLR at the time. And he said, "Here, just take some photos. We need some photos for the Patagonia catalog." So I took some photos, and we looked at the color slides. He goes, "Man, you got a good eye. You should keep doing this." So that next early spring, late winter, I went on my very first big alpine expedition up on Mount Forker in Alaska, which is a technical mountain adjacent to Denali. And we had been up on them. We got into a really bad storm. We'd been on the mountain for 19 days in a tent, and we got pretty much demoralized. We were two-thirds of the way up the mountain and just got demoralized after 3 weeks of being up there. So we decided to call it quits. There was too much snow, worried about avalanches, all that stuff. So we came back down, and we were crossing the Kahiltna Glacier. We'd already called base camp and told them to send a ski plane in to pick us up, take us back to Talkeetna. And as we were crossing the glacier, we were skiing across, and we were all roped up for crevasse safety. And there's a mountain in the foreground called Mount Hunter, which was a really famous, highly technical, um, big wall in the Alaska range. Like it's just a insane wall to climb, right? So it was in the foreground, and I just looked up, and there were these really cool clouds around it. So I grabbed my camera out. We were skiing across, and I took some pictures with my climbing partners in front of me. And I never really thought anything about it. I was just doing it to have the memories. And when we got back to Fort Collins a week later, I was showing them to my friend, another photojournalist for a climbing magazine. He goes, these are really good. You should send some of these in to some publications and see what happens. So I make copies of 10 or 12 of the color slides that I had. I put them in sleeves, put them in manila envelopes, went to Climbing Magazine and flipped through there, found addresses to different brands and sent them out to maybe 10 or 12 different brands, and never heard a peep out of anyone. And then about 6 months later, my friend Craig Lubin comes in and he slaps the North Face catalog down on the bar. I was bartending at the Town Pump at the time. This was in 1999. He goes, "You recognize that?" And I looked down, and it was the North Face catalog, and my photo was on the cover. That shot of Hunter was on the cover of the North Face catalog. And back then, before digital media was even in the scope of things, the North Face catalog was a highly coveted cover, like Nat Geo or something like that. So
Yeah.
my first reaction was I got pissed because they used my photo. They used my photo and didn't send me anything.
Nothing.
They didn't were you telling me to check my phone? I'm sorry.
No. I was saying they didn't send you nothing. Like,
I thought you were telling me to check my phone.
Pay me now.
Where's my check? North Face.
So I called
Johnny Manziel. Like,
I opened the catalog, find the number to the North Face. I called, I think I forget what town in California it's in. I called, I said, "Can I speak to the photo editor?" She gets on the phone. She goes, "Jake, before you say anything, let me just tell you, we loved your photo. You didn't put a return address or a contact phone number or anything in your envelope. We just saw your name on it. So we didn't know how to contact you. We figured we'd use your photo on the cover. You'd see it. You'd get mad. You'd call us. And then we'd catch up with you." So they end up sending me like $3,000 and a big box full of North Face apparel. And that was, a turning point in my life where I just thought, maybe I can do this again and make another $3,000. And so I used that $3,000 and I bought a German Leica camera and a point and shoot that was, a highly regarded point and shoot camera for alpine climbers in remote areas. And so I just started shooting photos. I started publishing photos and more North Face catalogs, Patagonia apparel, Climbing Magazine, Black Diamond, and just started gaining some notoriety. But at the end of the day, I was a hunter and a fisherman first. That was my true passion. So
right.
as hunting videos became more and more popular and prevalent in the VHS world, it was right at the beginning of the DVD world. I had thought about shooting video, turning photography into a video career. So I bought a Sony PD 150. I think it was. It cost me $5,000. And my dad looked at me and he goes, "What the F are you going to do with that camera?" And I said, "I want to go make outdoor videos. I want to make TV shows." And my dad, of all people, started laughing at me. And that motivated me even more.
Oh yeah.
So you want to hear some more of the story?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was living in Colorado, and I had known about this area in western Nebraska that where some really big whitetail had been killed with archery gear. So I started hunting out here out in western Nebraska, and I found a piece of property that a farmer just let me hunt for free. I had about a half a mile on the North Platte River near Oshkosh, Nebraska, and I found a honey hole. And there were just, I had seen some big deer there. I put some, um, just scouted it a lot, found some big sheds like you guys got there on your table, and had saved one of my spots. I'd never hunted it before, but I hung a tree in a big cottonwood, and I knew it was going to kill a big deer. It was in the perfect dog leg, the perfect funnel between a pond and the North Platte River in a deep cottonwood bottom. I just knew I was going to kill a big one there. So I was on Don Kiskey's website and Whitetail Freaks, and I contacted some just some people. I just posted. I made a post on the website, and I said there was like a chat room before. It was the beginning of social media, really, and I posted something like, I've got free time. I've got a really good spot. I'm looking for someone that would like to partner up with me to film some whitetail hunts. And I got like 10 or 12 different inquiries back. But one of them was a writer from North American Whitetail Magazine. His name was Clifford Neems. He responded. He goes, "Man, I've got all kinds of connections in the bow hunting world. If you're really serious, send me some photos of your area and some deer you've killed or whatever, and, sell me on this place and I'll come out and we'll do something." So I sold him on it. He came out on October the 26th of 2001. And it was right before the full moon in late October, before Halloween. The big deer were moving. So he comes out, literally gets to my house at 1 o'clock in the morning. He came up from Mississippi, and we woke up at 4 o'clock, rolled down to my spot, climbed up this big cottonwood tree, got in our stands. And at 8 o'clock that morning, he killed a gigantic, it was a 6-pointer, a 3x3 whitetail, but it was probably 8 or 9 years old. It weighed 277 pounds field dress.
Oh my!
He had a 23-inch inside spread.
Oh
and
my!
This deer walks into 10 yards and rubs a tree. The leaves were yellow. It was just like this. It was like it was just meant to be. So we film everything. We check our list off of our shot list off of clips, and at the end of the day, we're celebrating. He's like, "What do you want to do with it?" I said, "I don't know." He goes, "Well, who's your favorite bow hunter?" And at the time, and still probably is, I didn't know him back then, but I really admired Jay Gregory with the Wild Outdoors, because at that time, I just thought he was, at that time, other than the old school guys like Miles Keller and the Wenzel brothers, he was the next up and coming guy. He was working with the Drury brothers, and he had worked with Don Kiskey and all those guys. And so I really wanted to work for Jay Gregory. That's who I want to learn from. So he says to me, "Well, I just happen to be the president of the Mississippi Bowhunters Association, and Jay Gregory's coming to do a seminar in a couple months. We've got him scheduled. I've got his number. Let's call him." So he calls Jay Gregory, and we tell him about the hunt. We've got it all on tape. We send him the tape, and he literally he asked us if we could come to the SHOT Show that year to sign a contract. And so went to the SHOT Show. That was when I met, Stan Potts, all those people in the whitetail world, and had met a couple, a boyfriend and girlfriend at the time, that no one had ever heard of, Lee Lakoski, and at the time her name was Tiffany Profont.
Yeah.
And so, we were drinking beer with those guys, and I was just in awe. I was like, wow, this is exactly what I wanted to have happen. Here we are. So that was how I got into that. I know that was long-winded, but that was really how I got into the outdoor world.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. You came up in the right time. So a little bit on me is I used to film hunts too. That's kind of where I cut my teeth. but not that early. So it was like right when internet based shows started. So probably like 2012, 2013, somewhere in that range. I started filming, and I didn't film for anybody big, but it's just, it's funny. Like you said, like you just had this dream of sitting down and having beer with all these people, and that's literally like all I would ever dream about. It didn't happen for me, but it is cool that it happened for you.
Well, kind of is. We're talking to Jake on the pod,
and we got Matt Drury coming on, so we're kind of cool.
Matt's a great guy.
Yeah.
So when was your first season as a Bassmaster cameraman, Jake?
So I guess transitioning into the fishing world through the hunting world, I'd started filming for a television show. I worked for RNT Duck Calls. I worked with Jim Ronk and RNT for almost 25 years, 23 years to be exact. And right when I started working for them, I had been introduced to a TV show called Water Dog TV. And it was this fabulous show with Justin, the talent's name was Justin Tackett, and his dog Yella. And actually, he was the second talent on the show. The original talent for that show, Water Dog TV, was Steve Bowman and his dog Buddy. Okay, so
like Steve Bowman,
like Bowman.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so Bowman, yeah.
This is where things start to roll. So I'm working with Justin Tackett on Water Dog TV, and his producer and director, her name is Shannon Nardi, and she runs and owns the Super Retriever series. So we're just sitting around camped. We're up in South Dakota filming some duck hunts one time. And I was just telling him, I really want to, I want to do more filming, and I want to expand away from the whitetail world, not away from it, but get into doing whatever I can in the outdoor world, waterfowl, traveling to Canada, Mexico, whatever we needed to do. So, she's like, you need to talk to my brother and my dad. And I said, well, who is that? She goes, well, my brother's Mike McInnes. He's the head director at JM Associates. And my dad is Jerry McInnes. He owns Bassmaster. And I was like, oh, really? And so she tried for 4 years. This was way before live. And this was, she started pushing me into that world in 2008.
Okay. All
4
right.
years, because there were Wes Miller, let me see, Carrie, Brian, Rick. There was like 4 or 5 camera guys at the time.
Yeah.
It was for post-production.
Right.
Post-production. So I was kind of a fill-in. That's how I got into bass. And finally, one year in 2012, I get a call from I think her name was David Lipke's wife. And he's one of the editors at JM. She contacted me and said, "Hey, we need a new camera guy. We're doing some new things. We're just trying to, spread our base here and add more to the show. Can you do it?" And I was like, "Yes, please sign me up. Where do I sign?" So they flew me into Knoxville for my first event that year in 2012. And my very first assignment for Bassmaster Elite was Ott Defo on Douglas Lake when they were long lining bass. He was catching, he came in second or third. I think Jeremy Stark won that tournament.
Yep.
And Ott came in second or third, and he was that's when they made long lining illegal, because they were catching in 38 to 40 feet of water on crankbaits. So I get back to the weigh-in on the last day, and it is, it's this huge event. I'm like, wow, this looks like ESPN. And everyone around me was like, what kind of is?
Yeah.
And so I'm the rookie, and they hand me all the bitch jobs, and they hand me this big ass heavy camera with a cable on it and a headset, and they go shoot the weigh-in. So that's when Zona and Tommy Sanders had the weigh-in on stage on site, right? They had a Toyota podium, and they were doing everything right there on the stage.
Oh yeah.
And so I've got my headset on, and I've got this giant camera. I didn't know anything about what I was doing at that level, right? I could
And
frame
it just go. Just
go. And
Yeah.
Mike Dennis is going, camera one, give me a 2-shot. Camera one, give me a 2-shot. And I'm like zoomed in on Zona because I'm kind of in awe of the whole thing. And I could hear him screaming, Jake, give me a goddamn 2-shot. And I'm like, what the fuck is a 2-shot?
Oh shit!
Sorry about that. You're gonna have to bleep that out. But
now.
That was my very first experience with the Bassmaster crew, and Ott Defo and I are still friends over that very first assignment. So it was pretty cool, and I fell in love with it, and was totally addicted to it, and I still love it today as much as I did yesterday.
What's been like the most memorable moment you've ever had filming during your career with Bassmaster?
Oh man,
I know there's a ton, but like if you can grab one or maybe a couple to talk about.
there's a lot. I mean, there's a bag full of just those trophy moments where you just can't believe you're standing there watching this, right?
Yeah.
Brandon Cobb catching an 11-pounder at Lake Fork, Lee catching the 8.3 on his last cast at Lake Fork, Taku winning up at on Lake Ontario. I mean, the list goes on, and I filmed a lot of wins, but I would say the two most significant moments that I remember filming. One was when Takahiro Omori won Wheeler. And he was throwing those giant swim baits in top water on Wheeler. And what people don't know was that he was in 5-6 feet of water, and he that's when big swim baits really hit stardom, super stardom, because he was catching 5 and 6 pounders on those big swim baits, but he was also catching them on spooks. And what he was doing, which is what most people don't even still to this day realize, and we didn't broadcast it because I don't think studio knew what was going on, but he was waiting on those barges to dock and tie up on those big metal pillars on the Tennessee River that it's famous for. So these tugboats would tie up there and idle, and their props were still turning. It was creating current these boats, and it was kicking the debris up. The bait fish would move in, and the big bass were moving in. So when the tugboats left, we would go fish around these islands, literally burning time until another one showed up. And as soon as another one showed up and tied up, he would go right back to that spot and start casting in that current behind those tugboats. So that was the very first win I ever filmed, and I don't remember what that was. I think it was 2014.
Yeah,
something like that. So that was huge for me. And when he caught this 6-pounder that really solidified his win, I remember I was holding the camera. I'm a fan, like above and beyond everything else. Growing up on Kentucky Lake, I've been a fan of Bassmaster since the Ray Scott days.
Right.
My friends were locked into it. And so I'm a fan first. And when he caught that big 6-pounder that you can go watch on YouTube right now, I remember holding my fist up in the air, holding the camera, and it was like Rocky just knocked whoever out.
Yeah.
And it was like Buster Douglas knocking Mike Tyson out. It was just this huge moment for me. And I didn't know Sego.
That is so cool.
I didn't know Sego at the time, but he was photographing the moment, and he captured that moment for me, and it got published. I forget where, but it was in print publications in different places. And I just remember thinking, wow, man, I don't know if I was supposed to do that or not, but I couldn't help it because it was
Yeah.
such an exciting moment. So that was a really big one. And then probably the biggest moment ever for me was filming Jason Christie win the Classic at Hartwell, because I had been in his boat in 2018 when he choked. He had a
Dude,
six.
this one makes my hair on the back of my neck stand up. I
I've
swear to God right now.
same. I've got goosebumps. And I was with Jason um, in 2018 when he lost to Jordan Lee, and I think Brett Ayler came in second, I believe,
Yep.
and he was in third. And Jason had a 6-pound lead going into the last day. Like, dude, all he had to do was go out and catch 5 keepers, and it was his.
Yep.
And he
All
catch,
he had to do.
he's got 4 fish, and I think he caught 2 or 3 right off the bat, and then he started to struggle. He was flipping docks. Once the sun came up, he was flipping docks, and he could see the fish under the docks, and he couldn't get them to go. He was spooking all of them, right? And about 1:30, I could tell like his throat was dry. He was starting to spin out, and I got really quiet. I didn't know what to say. I had no words. I'm just like, God, please let him catch one more fish.
You're
Please
right.
catch one more fish. And he didn't. And when we rolled into the dock, he had 4 fish in his bag, and he's just going, I don't know what to say, man. I choked. It was a really, really bad scene personally. And that was the very first year, it was of all times, JM picks that year to decide we're going to go and get in the truck with our anglers, and we're going to go live from the ramp and Greens Pond all the way to the arena. So I had to stick a live camera in his face for 45 minutes from Greens Pond to the arena. And Jason's literally just, he's like driving like this, and I turned the camera off at one point, the audio off, and I said, Jason, I'm really sorry. I'm just doing my job. And he goes, no, 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 man. Just,
Yeah.
understand, this is my fault, and I have to deal with the consequences. So that's what that experience was like.
Yeah.
Fast forward to 2022,
Yep.
and, when I got my assignment on day 1 of the Hartwell Classic, Jason's first year back from MLF into the Classic, and I knew before I woke up that morning, I knew my assignment was going to be Jason Christie. I just knew it because of the experience that we had before.
Yeah.
So I walked down the dock, and I jumped in his boat, and I said, "Well, Jason," he was tying some lures on, and he didn't look up. And I stepped over in his boat, and I said, "Well, Jason, it looks like it's me and you again." He goes, he said, his exact words were, "I wouldn't want to have it any other way. Let's go get him." And so
Hell yeah.
from that point on, I felt included. I felt like 2018 was in the past. He was on a hard, direct hit mission to win that Classic, particularly it being at Hartwell in his first year back. And he did well, well enough to make the final day. And we went back in this pocket where he'd been fishing this creek bed, and on the last day, and it had changed. Like, it looked like someone took a semi load of leaves and debris back there and dumped it back in that creek where he was fishing. He was live scoping early in the morning, and that's where he was catching his big spots, or
Yep.
his early morning spots.
Yep.
And so he catches a 5-pounder and a 3.5-pounder, and he couldn't catch. He spent 2 or 3 hours back there, and he can catch anything. He was like, "Dude, I'm about to choke again." And he sat down in his boat. He goes, "I don't even know what to do. We're just going to go flip docks because these fish have vanished. There's leaves from top to bottom. I can't even make a cast." And I was like, "Well, Jason, every morning you've come back here, you've caught your 5 spots in the morning, but you only catching 1 or 2 big ones. and all the rest you're culling out, flipping docks anyway. So what does it matter? You've got a 5-pounder and a 3.5 in the box. Let's just go flip docks. He was like, you're right. So he motors up and he goes and starts flipping docks, and things just, everything went right. He got tangled up. He got hooks in dock ropes. He got tangled up in chains. He got his power pole hung up in a chain. Like, everything went wrong. And every time he hooked a fish and it went wrong, he still landed it. So it was like everything went wrong, but everything went right. And when he even pulled up to this one isolated dock on this point on the way back to the ramp, and he goes, man, there was a 4-pounder here during practice, and I just could not catch him. And I flipped, I've casted, I don't even know how many times I casted at him. So he stopped at that dock on the way back in, and he flipped a jig in there, and the fish came out and bit it. I saw it. It was in like 2 feet of water. It came out, snatched his jig, and he came off. Like, he I don't know, 2 or 3 cranks down, the fish just came unbuttoned and went back under the dock. And I was like, oh my God, he's about to choke again. So he grabs a damn wacky rig and a spinning rod and throws it in there. And that same fish came back out and ate his worm, and he landed it and put it in the boat, tossed a cull out, went back to the ramp, and the rest was history. So, and Jason and I, our relationship, like, as you guys can imagine, it just bonded. And I've always had respect from him from a distance. And now, we go out to dinner, we talk about bow hunting. It's like, it just changed my life. And not just because he's Jason Christie, but because that experience and the fact that he won the classic, and it changed him as a person. I truly believe, people always looked at him like he was in this intimidating giant, walking down the dock. When he walks down the dock, people get out of his way. And he had this intimidating aura about him. And now, after he won that classic, it changed him in a way that he's just a guy that's easy to talk to, and he's still intimidating as an angler, but he's not as intimidating as a person as he once was. And I think it was just because he got that gorilla off his back.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, the relationship that you must form with all these guys is just incredible. It kind of like, obviously it's a job, it's what you got to do, but it's like, how can you not be passionate for these dudes, especially in those kind of moments?
Yeah, exactly. People don't realize, you read all this critical garbage on the internet about anglers and people making judgments, even about the new kids coming up. And I'm just sitting back as a guy that's been involved. I've been filming for Bassmaster for 15 years, and I've gotten to know almost all these guys, not all of them, but the majority of them I have. And I just sit back and read some of this stuff and go, you don't even know these people.
Right.
Like, you have no idea how much they sacrifice every single freaking day to be out there for the entertainment. They're there to win, and they're competitors just like any athletes are, but they're there for our entertainment. And it's like, they work so hard, and they are so good at what they do. I have a tremendous amount of respect for each and every one of them. And I don't have a critical thing or a negative thing to say about any of them, because they put their time in, and it's blood, sweat, and tears, man.
Yeah. Speaking of, things that you've taken away from being around guys like this, and, absolutely, we're not looking to criticize anybody in any capacity at all. Are there certain characteristics you've seen out of anglers that have a career in bass fishing, that kind of just hang around for as long as they do, for their whatever the length of their career is? The guys who win maybe once, and then the guys who win multiple times over the course of their career. Are there some like key personality traits or things that you've like noticed about the guys that win at the highest level?
Yeah, they're cool as a cucumber. They don't get rattled. They don't let little things. I mean, I saw KVD lose a 7-pounder at the boat one time on a crankbait, and it popped off, and he just turned around and started casting again. Yep, he did.
Yeah.
He didn't, and I was like, that is what makes people like KVD KVD. You don't. If you fumble the football, dude, you get back up and you dust off and you ask the coach to give me the freaking ball. The next time we're in possession of it, give me the ball because I'm going to make up for what happened. Not get down. And I've seen anglers. I'll use Wes Logan as an example. He struggled there for a while, and he was concerned about his career, whether he was doing the right thing. I love the guy, love him
Yeah.
to death. And he was struggling there for a while. And then all of a sudden, he wins an event, and then he
Yep.
wins another event, and his confidence and his personality and his character changes. It's like a blossoming flower, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. Taku, and Kyoya, they're Japanese, so they get rattled in a different way. They almost look like they're getting rattled when they rattle, but that's just kind of the Japanese way. They move at high speeds, but at the end of the day, their mentality's always in the game. They're not
Right.
like, I got to go catch 5. They're like, I'm going to go catch 5 giants, right? Like, I'm going to go find the biggest fish that I can possibly find, and I'm going to catch them. And I think that's the mentality that you have to have. Lee, our buddy Lee,
Yeah.
Livesey, he's one of the best. I mean,
It's
he
insane.
always he is extremely locked in at any phase of the bass fishing game.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. He doesn't always win. He wins quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
but he's one of the most consistent anglers that I've ever been around. No doubt about it.
Yeah. Check out the consistency playbook from Lee Livesey on Bass University, releasing next week.
Oh,
How about that?
yeah, shameless plug there,
Yeah,
man.
shameless plug there. But dude, so I worked with Lee for the first time, Jake, in 2021 during like post COVID. We were doing seminars, and I'm gonna brag on Lee for a second because we like bragging about our boys, right? It was his first time doing seminars with us, and like I could tell at one point during his seminar that like he ran out of info to go off of based on like what he had prepared for. And I saw him slow down mentally. I saw the demeanor on his face change and his eyes change. And he calmly but precisely went down another road of teaching and instructing and just kept going exactly like you said, calm as could be, knowing the pressure of the moment, that there was a live audience, there was a camera on, but he didn't go Walt Disney. He stayed on course, cool as a cucumber, and just level. And that's cool that's one of the things that you've taken away from being around the best fishermen in the world. It's like it's such a cool thing to be in the presence of somebody that's doing something that they are truly one of the best in the world at. It's like you just feel it. It's like an aura almost.
Well, I mean, there's so many. Brandon Polinick, Greg Hackney. Like
Yeah.
I love getting them as my assignment because I know I have no idea if we're going to go win that day. I just know I'm going to learn something, and it's going to be a really fun day of fishing because they know what the hell they're doing. I mean, I could all of them, man. I mean, I've enjoyed being in the boat with Trey McKinney. I've been in the boat with him the past couple years, really a lot more at the end of last year, and then lacrosse and this year
he's never not in the top 10. It's incredible how good that kid is.
He's insanely locked in and acutely aware of what's going on, like amazingly so. And all the people that want to criticize him, I think it's probably slowed down some now. But he's he is a phenomenal angler, and he's actually a really phenomenal human being when you get to know him.
There's a couple of things I hope people take away from all these bass fishing episodes is like one that just the typical like how hard can tournament bass fishing be? Like you're going to go fishing for your job and like you don't like you said, like there's a lot of hate out there towards these guys. And like I mean, it's just like any other professional sport. Like the only way you get to that next level and the only way you can keep being successful is just a cool mentality, be willing to grind when it's time to grind, put your head down, keep rolling, keep moving forward. And like,
and that's life too.
Yeah.
Like as a whole, like you wouldn't, Jake, you wouldn't be a cameraman with bass. Like if you didn't have that mentality of like grinding and just wanting some more.
Right. And I guarantee you're teaching your kids the same thing. I'm teaching, you know, my oldest son the same thing right now when it comes to sports. Like if you want to be as good as you want to be, like you got to work. That's just how it is. You can't skate through doing bare minimum. And then like going back to the Trey McKinney thing, like I hate how much hate people gave him in the beginning because he was a scoper and he was young and stuff. But that's the new age of fishing. Like you got to get with the program or you're not going to make it. It is what it is. Like you can't hate on the guy for being good at what it takes to win these tournaments these days.
Yeah, it's not going away.
Right.
And it's just an added tool. Man, I don't care what anybody says. It's an added tool to the arsenal. And when they are in tournaments, I actually like this 50-50 format.
Yeah.
Because I think it's gonna eventually it might hop around. AOI may hop around here and there for the next few years, but there's going to be a group of guys that are going to get locked into both traditional and live scoping techniques, and then it's going to stabilize. And the people that are the most well-rounded are the ones that are going to win the AOI at the end of each year. And I think it's going to take a couple years, but it's coming because the young guys will learn more about traditional fishing. I mean, what do you think they're doing out there during practice or even during the off season, this past off season? What were they doing? They weren't out there mostly live scoping. They knew this was going to be a 50-50 format. So they're out on their home lakes or traveling to different lakes, fine tuning their traditional fishing skills because, and then I think it evolves into, okay, well, let's take the knowledge. And I saw it at Gunnersville. I was with Hank Cherry. I was with Bryant Smith. I was with Hunter Shryock. And then I was with, God, who was I with the last day? Trey McKinney.
Okay.
Trey McKinney. And they were all, every single one of them were using traditional methods with my live scope mentality. All of them, every single one of them.
With live scope mentality. I love that.
Thinking, okay, I know Hank's throwing a jerk, and he started out with that grub. It wasn't working the first day. He didn't have it totally dialed in. The fish shifted on him a little bit, so it took him into day 2 to finally figure that bite out. But when he was casting his jerk bait, he's like, I asked him on the boat, so how often do you think a fish is following it now that you know about live scope? Do you cast differently? Do you retrieve differently? What are you feeling? What are you feeling when you're casting? He's like, oh yeah, there's a fish following it 75% of the time. They're just not eating it, and they know that now because of the live scope knowledge that they've picked up on. And so it gives them more confidence. And instead of, packing up and saying they're not here, or they're not biting right now, or whatever it is, they stay a little bit longer and they tweak their methodology more accurately now, even in a traditional sense, than they would have before live scope, because they know what's going on underwater and they have a better idea of what's happening, right?
Right. That's a perfect way to explain that is they know based off of using live scope so much how these fish are interacting with the baits and the movements and the cadences and all that. Whereas in the past, you're just always wondering, you're just out there casting, man, I wonder how many fish are down there looking at it. Well, now we know, and these guys are adjusting to that, which is that's amazing.
Who was your assignment on Sunday at Martin, Jake?
I didn't go to Martin because my son had a boxing match that weekend.
Oh, okay.
So
Nice.
I bailed on Martin. I
nice.
did.
How'd Walker do in the match?
He won unanimous decision. I'm glad I stuck around for it.
Yeah, that's a good one to stick around for, no doubt. Man, this has been a freaking fun conversation, dude. I appreciate the heck out of you coming on for this, Jake. It's been a blast, dude. But we want to ask you one final question before we send you off. And what we want to know, if you could give one piece of advice to someone that is trying to achieve a career in the outdoor industry in any capacity, whether it's camera work, whether it's anything, if you could give a person one piece of advice to get to that goal, what would it be?
That's a good question. There's probably lots of different answers to that question.
Yeah,
I think it's the same answer you'd give anyone in any industry that's coming up, no matter what they're doing, and that is to work your butt off and never give up. And connect, especially nowadays with social media. I mean, even, rewinding back in time when I met Shannon Nardi, the daughter of Jerry McInnes and the sister of Mike McInnes, it was really the beginning of social media that allowed me to meet someone on that end of the spectrum and I was able to showcase, photographs, videos, resumes, all that stuff to them through the internet services that we had back then, which were still very primitive in terms of social media. But nowadays you have access to everybody. I mean, everything. And so there's a lot of people that are trying to do it. So it's different advice coming, or the same advice coming from a different angle, because there are so many people that are trying to get into this.
Yeah.
Outdoor
like, how do you separate yourself?
That's it. My dad gave me some advice a long time ago, and he said, make yourself so important to someone that they can't afford to let you go. And
yep.
you become that important to someone, they'll actually pay you just to keep the competition away from you. So, just make yourself have integrity. That is the most important thing, 100% hands down. Integrity will take you a long ways where talent might cut you short, because if you don't have integrity and you have all the talent in the world, you're not going to go anywhere because people don't buy into your bullshit. If you have integrity and you work hard, then it's going to take you further down the line, because that's what the kind of people that people like JM want to hire. They can teach you how to be something they want you to be, but they can't teach you integrity. So take that to the bank.
Yeah.
Take that to the fucking bank. Let's go, dude. That got me fired up.
Dude, what was that old beer commercial? The most interesting man in the world. Was that Dos Equis?
Yeah, it was Dos Equis.
Dude, you should be the main. You should be that guy.
I'll do it for Pat's Blue Ribbon. How's that?
Yeah. Oh man.
But yeah, that's a great way to put it. I'm a sports guy, so like to top off what you said there, like the way I was always taught is like be coachable. If you can be coachable, they can teach you the rest, right? So like even at the college level or professional level, like you have to have some skill, but once you get there, if you're coachable, they can teach you everything that's needed to be done. Yeah. So
and that falls in with integrity,
right?
Too.
Exactly.
It's like there's a lot of parallel there.
If you don't, when I hire bartenders, when they bring me their resume and they walk in, they're always like, man, I've worked at this bar, this bar, this bar, and this bar. I'm like, please don't tell me that, because I don't want you bringing bad habits from other bars to my bar. I'd rather you just tell me how honest you are and how much you don't steal. That way I can teach you how to be a bartender at my bar. And there's an old saying, I think Kirby Smart, the head coach at Georgia, said two things that make so much sense to me. He said, when you run from hard, you find harder. Don't run from hard, face hard head on. Right.
Right.
The second thing was, God, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, like you said, be coachable, but God, I just totally lost my train of thought. See, there's my age. There's my age.
It's all good.
Yeah,
I mean,
Kirby Smart's full of them. That's why Georgia is where they are, because he's one of those guys that he understands life and how it works. And your foundation always starts with integrity.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more, man.
Couldn't agree.
Yep.
That was phenomenal. Jake, thanks for coming on with us, dude. I know you have so much on your plate, but dude, it was a fun conversation. And I'll get to see you at the Classic. Shane's not gonna,
I almost feel like I should take off work.
I
and just
tried
come
to get
down
Shane
there.
to come down with me and just hang out at the Bass U booth for a while, but
when are you going to be there?
So I was planning on driving Tuesday, and to give myself a little bit of a buffer time, I was going to leave Tuesday morning, but it's going to be 80 here on Tuesday. So my thermals are kind of pulling towards driving at night on Tuesday so that I can get some more preparation in for leaving, aka fishing. But I'll be there Wednesday, Thursday. I'll be there Wednesday for sure. So I'm sure I'll see you at Media Day or somewhere around. I'll track you down, man. I'll find you.
Definitely, yeah. Text me. We'll get out one night and have some.
Yeah. We're in your stomping grounds. We're in Tennessee, man.
Oh man, it's my favorite place to have the Classic. I lived in Knoxville for 3 years. Started my college career there, so I'm really looking forward.
We got to do it, man, because Knoxville was my first Classic working. 2019 Knoxville was my first Classic working for Bass U. So this, like, coming back to Knoxville is like a full circle one. And like, I was doing the math on it. I'm like, holy crap, this is my 7th time going to the Classic to work. I'm like, I'm ready to be at this thing not working. Like,
everyone says, there's nothing like it in the fishing world.
I'm telling you.
Have you been to a Classic?
I have not. The only tournament I've ever been to was when they had it here on the Upper Bay. A long time ago.
You know what Shane has done, though? Shane fished with Mark Zona.
That I have done.
Wow. That's that's a whole nother podcast right there.
That is. Honestly, dude, I think that's how I started following you. I think that was back in like 2017. And I think after that trip is when I started following you on social media.
But how'd that... Because of Zona, or
because of Zona, and I think
did you win it through Boat US?
I did win it through Boat US, but so also side note, I applied to JM like probably 5 times and got turned down all 5 times.
For what position?
Just to run a camera on the boat. So this was like back when I was filming hunting, and I was looking to try to like take it to like a full-time job because I was still in college. And that was also around the same time I won the trip with Zona. And through all that, I was like, man, I think I could film full time. And I got like doing some research, and I found JM, and because I think they were also filming his show for him at the time.
They were,
and, yeah. And so I was let me apply for this. And that was the first time. And then I applied several times after that. But
hey, never give up.
Exactly. Don't run from hard. We just find
I work construction now. So complete opposites.
I wish I had known you at that time, man, because since live developed, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, how live came about and how it developed so quickly in terms of just streaming coverage. because we struggled through the very, the primitive days of live. We were constantly looking for new camera guys because we expanded the number of anglers that we covered because we couldn't switch boats because it was all live at that point. So I wish I'd have known you back then because I think I probably could have got you in.
Well, next time there's an opening, you just send me a little message, man.
I'll text you, man.
Yeah. Whitney's listening from the other room, like, Shane, you ain't going across the country 9 times a year.
Probably.
Oh man.
Well, got anything else you want to throw?
No, man. This was fun. I think we should. I think we should do a post Elite Series pre-hunting season kind of catch up and go through all the stories that we didn't have time for tonight.
Absolutely.
Well, I really appreciate you guys having me on. That was a lot of fun. And anytime, man, I would love to come back and talk to you.
Yeah, we'll come. We'll come to Fort Collins, Colorado, in a Beamer.
Just fly. If you have to fly in. I'll come get you at the airport. And I got spare rooms in my house, and I know a bar pretty well.
Yeah, bet.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Jake.
Yeah.
Seriously, I really appreciate it, dude.
Thank you very much.
Yep. All right, guys. It's the Upper Bay Podcast. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. We'll catch you on the next one. Later.